Thank you so much for joining us. So you're joining for the UNH Sustainability Institute Sustainability Fellowship Host Organization Information Session. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Alexis Dwyer. I am the Program and Network Stewardship Coordinator at the UNH Sustainability Institute. And a key part of my role is coordinating this fellowship. So I'm so delighted to have you joining us today to talk about one of my favorite things and what it's like to apply for the program and what it's like to be a host organization. Here you can see our agenda for today. I'm especially excited to have two Sustainability Fellowship host organizations who have had a fellow in the past joining with us to speak about their experience. We'll have about 40 minutes of material, which includes hearing from them, and then we'll open it up to questions until 1 p.m. So before we start, I just wanted to let you know that we are recording this webinar and we'll have it up on our website soon after. So let's get started. So as mentioned, you'll be hearing from several of us today. I am Alexis Dwyer. As mentioned, I coordinate the fellowship program. This program is made possible and run by an entire team of people, and some of them are on here today. I can see that Faina Bucher is on here. She's the amazing program director for the Changemaker Collaborative. And in addition, as mentioned, you'll hear from Todd from the town of Durham and Sandra from Bangor Savings. Todd has hosted multiple fellows over the years, and Sandra hosted her first two fellows this past summer. So it'll be a great perspective. So just to give you a little bit of background to get to know UNH some more, UNH is a national leader in sustainability. This year, we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Institute, something that we're super excited to celebrate all year long. And UNH is very proud of being one of only 10 schools in the US to achieve Platinum Stars rating from the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. They're in the top 10 of the coolest schools of 2021 by Sierra Club, in the top 10 environmentally friendly college campuses. And UNH really drives student sustainability leadership by being involved in the Changemaker Collaborative, which brings together students, faculty, staff, businesses, nonprofits, and government agencies committed to advancing positive change for the good of all. So if you ever want to talk about any of those opportunities, I'm available for that as well. So reach out to me. We have amazing clinics such as the Bee Impact Clinic and the Carbon Clinic. So oftentimes we get asked what sustainability is all about. And that is a great question because it is such a large umbrella. Here at UNH, we like to align ourselves with the UN Sustainability Development Goals, which you see listed here. So it really involves working in many different areas and disciplines to advance these goals. So it's helpful to be reminded that although your company might not work in climate action, there is a large umbrella of different ways and potential projects to advance the UN Sustainability Development Goals. So of course, we're here to talk about the fellowship. So the fellowship is all about matching amazing undergraduates or post-baccalaureates with excellent organizations like yours that are doing important work in sustainability. We set the stage with well thought out and planned projects in a collaborative atmosphere with you. And then in turn, our goal is to build resilient communities in a resilient world. So that's just our big brief overview, but now we're going to get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty and what sets this opportunity apart from other possible internships. So typical internship opportunities are what many of us may be familiar with. So many times internships are more of a benefit kind of to the intern, right? They get a glimpse of what it's like to work in a professional setting. They get to support a couple of projects. By the end of the summer, many times it can be a little bit of a burden on you because you're having to remind like, oh, they need another project. What's going on? What's happening next week? And sometimes it can be a lot of work for maybe minimal results on your end, but they have a great summer experience. But it kind of lacks the structure where you feel strongly connected to the intern and like you're making an impact for them and you at the same time. And how many times does their end date sneak up on you and you can't believe that they're already done? So internships can be helpful for the interns, but there's a missed opportunity for a bigger impact. So that's where the fellowship comes in. What sets the program apart is not only would you be working with a fellow at your organization, but you would be a part of this bigger program that has multiple advantages and assets. So first of all, we're talking about that impact that might be missed with just an individual internship program. But here with the fellowship, we design the projects so that the fellow can own them and create a high impact. The fellow will take responsibility of the fellowship project, and the project is designed to get something done which will sustain your organization into the future and creates an impact on the communities in the region that you're working in. Oops. And then at the end of the summer, fellows have an added value to your organization and have had an immense and high quality learning experience for themselves, possibly even career launching experiences for fellows who are interested in engaging in sustainability careers. So that's really such a different part of the program, is it really is experiential education where they're getting to use what they've learned maybe in the classroom and apply it to this high impact project at your organization. And then of course, the high impact project that benefits the organization and the fellow also means there's an advancement in sustainability too. We're so grateful for organizations like your own to partner together to create this triple win, a win for your organization, for the students, and for the world at large. So here we have a quote from one of our 2022 Sustainability Host organizations, and it's a wonderful reflection on what sets the fellowship program apart. So often they can articulate it even better than we can. So here they said, "I have been so in awe of the UNHSI fellowship this summer. Although I have supervised, hosted fellows and interns through other programs, this was my first time with the UNHSI. The way in which the fellowship fosters community by building structures for mentorship, cross-organizational collaboration between fellows, and team calls is wonderful. I was also impressed by the way that the team balances strong organizational structures like the work plan and feedback on that work plan with mindfulness and grace towards nonprofit organizations and NGOs that may already be overwhelmed." So that gives you a little bit of a perspective straight from a host organization. We'll have some more quotes, and then of course, hearing from Sandra and Todd today. So here you see some more of what sets the fellowship program apart. We've already touched on the owning the project and the design impact to your organization and training the next generation of sustainability leaders. But I want to step back and actually highlight the top 3 squares that you see here. So what might not be known is that the fellowship program actually started in 2008. And so we've had 15 summer cohorts of experience. And every summer we reflect and reassess to further define the fellowship program and how to continue to grow and evolve to best meet the needs of the host organization and students. So it's a backbone of support that you will have guiding you through the summer. And then the recruitment component. You design the project and we recruit a highly qualified fellow with qualifications tailored to the needs of your project and organization. We do this through UNH and our hundreds of contacts at other universities and programs across the US to get the best candidates possible. And then collaboration. As a part of the fellowship summer cohort, you are part of an active network who meets during the spring and the summer, meeting up in person at the midterm event to continue to grow your network and share resources so that together we can work towards the goals of the UN SDGs. I could talk about that network part forever, but we do have to get through some more information today. So here's another wonderful quote. I just had to sprinkle these in because it really gives you the perspective from past host organizations. So this one says, "As a mentor for the fellowship this time around, it was great to see how the program was organized. It felt very accessible. I appreciate the structure of the selection process, the ongoing communication, and the opportunities to provide feedback. Our organization is definitely considering hosting again." All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about the RFP later today, but I really want to paint the picture of really what it's like to be a host organization. So if your proposal is accepted, what is next? So this will happen in preparation to leading up to the summer. So what would be next is, with support from UNH, host orgs write a fellowship project description. We have a template in place for this, and a lot of the information will come from your proposal as well. And then together we'll finalize your description. And then this is what we'll use to market your specific project opportunity to potential fellows. So that's where we do the marketing that we already talked about. Marketing it to undergraduate students are only marketed to undergrads at UNH. And then for the post-baccalaureates, we recruit from UNH and across the US. Then we'll receive those applications, review them, and send the top applicants to you for review. Once you choose who you like from that top group, we then schedule to co-interview the top candidates together and choose the fellows. Around the same time, this is such a unique part of our program, is that we look at the projects we have selected for the summer and coordinate a smaller project advisory group with your project, organized around project themes. These project groups are then led by advisors with relevant professional expertise to support the host organizations and the fellows themselves before and during the summer. So it really breaks down that cohort of 31 fellows into smaller 5 to 6 project groups. And then finally, the last step of this, as the summer approaches, is to craft a detailed 10-week work plan for each project. That can kind of sound daunting, but it is one of the key components of the fellowship program that makes sure that the project is completed by the end of the summer. And once again, we have a template, we have examples of past projects and what they've looked like. And this is where your project advisor will be working more closely with you and reviewing the project work plan, and together you come up with the best plan for your fellow to accomplish your project. So now that was leading up to the summer. So what does the summer itself look like? So of course, the fellows are focused on their fellowship project with their host organization during the summer. Your fellow will be working on a day-to-day basis with you, while being supported through program activities organized by UNH that they will also participate in. Those activities are designed to set the stage for collaborating with other fellows, to offer them individual support, and to help develop their skills throughout the summer. So some of the highlights of that are, we start the summer off with a 3-day orientation where the fellows get a chance to know one another, the UNH team, as well as the host organizations, as the host orgs join for the second day of the orientation. This is an opportunity to learn a bit more about the projects that will be going on during the summer, and will lay the foundation for collaboration with everyone over the course of the summer. And then during the summer itself, on a weekly basis, there are a few activities that take place specifically for the fellows. The fellows meet weekly with their small advisory group. This group will become a sort of sounding board for them, a place to work out issues, to talk to others about the work they're doing. Each of the advisory groups also have those UNH staff or outside staff that are the advisors to help guide the group. And then we also coordinate an alumni webinar series for the fellows, where they get to hear from professionals who are working in the field in all different areas of sustainability, and hoping to guide them into their work after the summer. And we have a couple of presentations during the fellowship to make sure the fellows are on track with their project work with you. So these are kind of like stopping points to check in and make sure things are going smoothly. And this takes place with the in-person event. We call it the midterm event right now. That might be changing for 2023, but you'll know all about that. And then we have the virtual final showcase presentations. And of course, that's the final check-in where they'll actually have their deliverables and everything to present. And then of course, they'll give you their bigger deliverable and packet to your specific organization. So these are some of the highlights of the activities that happen on the program side to supplement and go along with your fellows project. So I could keep talking forever, but today like I mentioned earlier, we have the 2 amazing host organization mentors with us. I'm so thankful for them giving their time to us today to give a better glimpse into the fellowship host experience. So we'll start with Todd. Todd, thank you so much for kicking us off and sharing your experience.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm just doing a sound check. Can you all hear me?
Yes, thank you.
All right, I am coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio, where I am at a conference. So I'm thankful this is working. This is great. So I'm the town manager in Durham, New Hampshire, and we have been a part of the program for 5 years now. And so I want to just tell you a little bit about our story and our experience with the fellowship, which has been really good. So Durham is a modestly sized community, about 16,000 people. We're the host of the University of New Hampshire. We're an academic community, a community with really engaged people who are very bright and a lot of time to engage in the community process. But a challenge we have, because we're a modestly sized community, is having the resources in-house to perform at the level that the community expects. So we're always looking for innovative ways to sort of bring on services and support to add on and help our community. And so we had really wanted to move forward with this whole area of climate change and sustainability. And we've been doing a lot of initiatives locally, sort of one-off projects. But we just didn't have anyone in-house who could sort of take charge of this and drive a number of our efforts forward. And so we identified the Sustainability Institute and the fellowship program as a potential resource to partner with Durham. And one of the things that we really liked about the program is it's not your typical internship, as you've heard already. You know, with typically you bring in a college student, you give them a desk and you say, okay, you're going to do a lot of stuff, and they sort of keep busy, but there's not necessarily focus and a clear deliverable. And one of the things about the process that Alexis has outlined is it really requires that the host organization think through what they need and what they want specifically. And then you'll work with the Sustainability Institute to package that in a deliverable that's actually attainable over the course of the summer program. So then once you have your project that you hope to complete, you work with the Institute. They put out a request for really bright, either undergraduates or graduate students, depending upon the level of experience you're looking for. And you have an opportunity to sit down with the Sustainability Institute staff and interview the top contenders for your position. So each cycle, we've got between 3 and 6 potential candidates. So it's really like a job interview. And you have an opportunity to figure out which of these great young people is the best fit for your project and your organization. And once you bring them on board, there's a great onboarding process, as Alexis mentioned, where the fellows come together and learn about each other. There's an opportunity to learn about the hosts, where the mentors come and participate in an afternoon with the mentors to get to know them at a personal level. And then there's this great flexibility the program has, where you can either do it in person or 100% in person, 100% virtual, or a hybrid model. And Durham has had the opportunity to do it all 3 ways, and all 3 have worked really well. So if you're a little farther away and it's hard for you to commute into Durham or wherever your mentor is, because we have mentors who are coming at this from all over the country, the virtual approach works really well. And so right now, for example, we have a fellow from Tufts University who worked with us over the course of the summer. And it was all virtual except for 2 days where she visited Durham in person. And again, it's been just terrific. So clear goals, you onboard the fellows. And I think another nice thing about the program is these young people are awesome. You know, they're smart, they're motivated, they're passionate. And if you're like I was going to say a mid-career professional like me, but I'm getting beyond mid-career. But if you're a professional like me, you sort of get tired and you're looking for some inspiration sometime. And these young people are awesome. And you have a chance to work with them every week. And then you come together for the midterm presentation. And it's just awesome. You hear these young people with their ideas and the great projects they've been working on. And it just is a really uplifting experience. And it's not just me. I brought members of my town council to participate, and they all have the same takeaway. It's like, wow, I'm feeling charged. So that's great. And then at the end of the semester, you have a takeaway. So let me just tell you briefly about our takeaway. So we've done a number of things, but a few examples. We wanted to do a greenhouse gas inventory for our municipality. And so 2 years ago, 3 years ago, our fellow performed that inventory, and over the course of the summer developed a professional analysis on what our emissions were from our municipal entity itself. We then, the following year, brought on a fellow and expanded the focus to look at not only our municipal greenhouse gas footprint, but the entire town and the school district as well. And with that information, plus information the university provided, we were able to have a greenhouse gas inventory for the entire town. Fast forward another year, the next fellow worked with us to develop a climate action plan using the data that the greenhouse gas inventories had provided to really give us focus and direction going forward. And so with each fellow, we've been able to first identify what we want to do, accomplish the task, and have a clear deliverable that is useful for us moving forward. And so I have viewed the fellows as sort of an additional staff member that we're bringing on, and we're clearly giving them the charge. We're hiring someone who's got the requisite skills to get this thing done. And at the end of the day, we've got a great product. So let me just see if there's anything else that would be helpful for me to say. I don't think so. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have at the end. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Todd. That's amazing. Yes, if you're able to stick around, we can definitely have questions opened up for him. All right, moving on. Sandra, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, thank you very much for asking me to join. I am thrilled and honored to talk about our experience with the fellowship with UNH and with our experience with UNH, because I sort of broadly put it in that context, because so much about the fellowship and the fellows was successful because the force and the expertise that was provided by the UNH Sustainability Institute. And so that was, for me, one of the biggest draws. And so really just to kind of take us back. So as a newbie to this process, certainly this year, and I guess now we're coming up on a full year towards this fall, because I would have applied right roughly or coming into this time last year. What I loved about this process was being not just new to the UNH Sustainability Institute Fellowship Program, but also coming to it because we were, in environmental sustainability terms, as an organization, comparatively new to that concept as well. So that piece is very important, and the steps that we were asked to go through from the RFP application process through, connecting and interviewing fellows, through, the project sort of narrowing and the 10-week plan or 12-week plan, was really important. And early on, when you look at sort of that lineup of things, you're not only thinking, okay, that's a lot for us to cover, but there was a lot of reassurance of the thoughtfulness that goes into the program. The fact that they have many, many years of trial and error, I'll say, but really sort of this, you've done it a lot of different ways, I would guess, to really find some of the best makeup of how to get you through that process. And so for me, as somebody, like I said, who's new to the environmental sustainability as a discipline, as an organizational approach, I really needed that help, and coming back over and over again to what is my project, and connecting with Alexis and saying, is this the right scope of the project, or how should I narrow it or make it more defined and articulate? And some of the things that helped me be successful were, like I said, the UNH team that helps guide you and can really get a sense of, okay, what is possible in 12 weeks? Really, especially being new to the organization such as Bangor Savings Bank, they also have to have that time to get immersed in, okay, where's Bangor Savings Bank in this journey? What is the bank about? Who am I working with as a manager, too, or as a mentor, excuse me. So all of those steps along the way I found them incredibly supportive. Yes, there are things you have to do and sort of tick off as an agreement to the program, but for me, I looked at them as development opportunities to create something really substantial and a foundation so that when our fellows, land, they're really feel like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do, and you've got that much time to do it. So what was interesting for us, and I'm sort of leading up to kind of also describe what our projects ended up being, because this is during this lineup of phases and really thinking through what is it that Bangor Savings Bank was hoping to get out of this summer fellowship program. What ended up happening was I had this idea for a project to start pretty broad and high level with what should an environmental sustainability roadmap contain. Before we made decisions about what we wanted to start doing, I'm the kind of thinker who has to look ahead and say, where are we even going? And what are the various steps that we could be doing along the way? Alexis and team brought an incredible set of candidates. And I walked away and I said, okay, well then, sky's the limit. I would love to do 2 projects and hire 2 fellows if the opportunity allowed. And what ended up happening was we had a set of candidates who were so incredibly strong. And really how it fell out was one had an incredible strong strategy perspective, and another had an equally strong data analytics piece. So to me, all of a sudden, 2 beautifully complementary projects sort of fell out of some of those interviews. And we ended up saying, okay, let's take on these 2 simultaneous and complementary projects. And so the 2 fellows together really formed a strong team, but with 2 separate tracks, if you will. But what was interesting is as the summer went along, they had to find really independently, but also with guidance from both UNH and myself, of what are those connection points, so that when they turn to the Bangor Savings Bank leadership team to present their findings, they really presented an incredibly robust roadmap and associated scorecard. It was really very cool. So for me, I think a great question we were asked is what makes this different than a standard or traditional internship program? And so I actually have a slightly different or parallel picture that I'd love to share. So our internship program here at the bank is very rich, very robust, as well as project-based. So one might say, okay, well, why not the bank just have an additional internship? The biggest differentiator for me, and I did also have an intern at the same time working on a totally separate project, but why it was so important to have a UNH fellow was because they came in already, with, as Todd described, the passion and the inspiration, yes, please, but also that basic acumen of environmental sustainability techniques, direction. They know many of the different resources to already go and get me, the best paper on how to, do greenhouse gas inventory, or what are the things in the frameworks we should look to build a roadmap. They come in not just as a standard intern, but as really already incredibly well equipped in the world of environmental sustainability. And so that was very important to me. Oh gosh, I mean, I said I was only given 10 minutes, so I could talk all day. Let's see, what else? Some of the things I think that I found that were incredibly successful through the summer was the active engagement. So we, similarly to Todd, we had fellows, both of the fellows happened to live in Boston. And so we made it a point that they came up, I want to say at least 3 times throughout the summer, and they stayed multiple nights. So they were here a good portion of a week each time, or maybe 3 days, 3 working days, so that they could interact with the team. We could have time in person. We all know how valuable the in-person connects are, but outside of that, they knew that we were there, I was there, cross-functional teammates who were also there to support them were always there whenever they needed it, if it was possible. I can't tell you how many times one of the fellows would reach out to our facilities team, and the teams were already prepared with an understanding that their time with us was limited, or the time that they were focusing on to collect data was even that much more limited. So the teams were really at the ready to support them. And what I heard from the fellows was they felt as part of the team as full-time employees. And that is incredibly meaningful to me, because whenever we approach an internship or a fellowship, their experience is as important as our experience for a summer. And that to me was very valuable. As well as, so not just engagement with me, but I also noted, the engagement throughout the summer and the support system for the fellows in their advisory groups in the UNH leaders was also incredibly impactful, because when the fellows had questions that were most definitely outside of my wheelhouse, they knew automatically who they needed to connect with in UNH and in their advisory group. And I feel like all of that was incredibly important. Like I said, I could go on all day, but I will stop there and turn it back over to Alexis.
Thank you so much, Sandra. That was so nice to hear. And Todd, thank you. You both spoke so well to the program, and oh my goodness, it makes me so excited to read everyone's proposals for 2023. I know we're going to have another amazing summer and another amazing cohort of fellows. So I'm glad you're like me, Sandra. I could talk about this forever too. I met someone in the Trader Joe's checkout who she was like, my daughter goes to UNH. I'm like, here's my card. What's her major? You just never know. See, exactly. I love Brittany's laughing. Exactly. So here's another quote. I'm not even going to read it because Todd and Sandra just blew me out of the water. So incredible. But now that we have an understanding of what hosting a fellow is like and what can all be accomplished in 12 weeks, let's talk a little bit about the request for proposals. That, of course, if you signed up for this, you've probably already seen the link for it because it is out. And if you were to just take a run through the RFP, which you can do, you could even write like test, 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 and I'll know to just delete it, that's okay. But when completing the application, you'll be asked to complete and upload a project proposal. So that's really kind of what we're talking about that your fellow will be doing. So here on the slide, you can see if you go to our website, you can actually download the application project proposal page already. So we recommend to take a look at that after today. You can find it within the RFP, of course, itself, or like I said, under interested in hiring a fellow, and then it's like accordion drop downs, and then in the apply to host a fellow drop down. So this is the document that you'll outline and give the basics of what the project will be that you're having your fellow work on for this summer. So that's the bulk of the application. And then it was perfect. Todd and Sandra really addressed this question when thinking about a project proposal. Can you host a fellowship fully remote? And the design of the project and the format and location is ultimately up to you. So the project work may be fully in person. We have plenty of those this summer. It could be fully remote, or it could be a hybrid model. And the hybrid model can look so many different ways. It can be coming in twice a week, or it could be, like Sandra said, coming up for 3 days, 3 times during the summer. So that's up to you. Happy to brainstorm the best plan together as well. Really uniquely, since we do recruit from across the US, we did have some fellows working in different time zones for fully remote fellowships, but they worked that out with their host sites in advance and they figured out a plan for it to come together. And then, of course, just to mention, all fellows do get that amazing opportunity to come together with the host organizations in New Hampshire for our midterm event. And that's a really exciting time for everyone to be in the same space together. And then even talking about hosting a fellow fully remote hybrid or however it may be, we do have some fellows relocate depending on the location and the format of the fellowship. We had a fellow who was in the grad program at UNH Manchester, and he relocated to Rhode Island for the summer for his project. Who wouldn't want to be in Rhode Island for the summer though? So interested in learning about projects maybe that have been worked on in the past. Currently on our website, we still have listed the 2022 fellowship projects that the fellows would have seen and then specifically applied for. So this can just give you an idea of the large scope of projects that make up the fellowship program. You probably already, have some sort of an idea in your head what you want to work on. So don't be intimidated by these descriptions, of course, have been made as a team after the proposal. So proposals do not need to be as detailed as these descriptions, but it could be a useful place to get ideas flowing on what fellows can actually accomplish. And then co-supporting a fellow. In the RFP, you'll see information about this, and this is also on our website. Together, we mutually invest with host partners in the learning experience of each fellow and the impactful outcome of each project. So fellows, a huge draw for the program is they are compensated for their work according to their level of education. And this is really important to us at UNH, especially to make it equitable access for all. And so host partners are asked to contribute at the following rates for 2023. The undergraduate fellow is at $7,500 and the post-baccalaureate is at $9,500. And then in addition, it's important to note this asterisk here. We're so very grateful for incredible partners who enable us to host fellows for host organizations who are not able to contribute at that level. So in your RFP proposal, you'll have the opportunity to state the level at which you can contribute. Through the generous support of Jane's Trust Foundation, Josephine A. Lamprey, alumni of the program, and others, UNH is able to offer grants to offset a portion of the partner's contribution for many organizations, especially municipalities and nonprofits. And the Sorensen family is another one. I just really like to give a shout out because without them, our projects would not be possible. So next steps. So we recommend looking at the RFP if you haven't already and downloading that project proposal form to begin brainstorming and writing out your project. And reminder, your project proposal application won't be as detailed as the project descriptions you see on the website, but if your project is chosen, your proposal will be the backbone for your project description. So reach out to me if you have any questions along the way. I'm happy to set up a phone call to answer your questions as you put your application together. And then of course, here you see our key dates coming up. October 14th, our team will begin reviewing the projects that are coming in. And then November 4th is our deadline for project proposal submission. And then we'll review all of those as an advisory team. We have an advisory team who looks through them. And November 28th, projects will be selected and notified. All right, so we've made it to the question and answer portion. Please feel free to chat any questions or definitely unmute. Todd and Sandra are here to also answer your unique questions. Reminder, our website, definitely a great place to just Google search UNH Sustainability Fellowship, it will come up. Our website is linked here too, but that's really long. And you can have answers or questions answered there. And if you have any specific questions, I'm always available for you.
Hey, Alexis, can I just thought of one thing that I just thought might be helpful to mention, which is that, one of the benefits of the program is it's by participating, you're not only getting the fellow, you're also being able to take advantage of the great staff at the Sustainability Institute. And so the staff meet with the fellows on a regular basis, on a weekly basis. And if they have questions, or if you as the mentor have questions, these staff members who have amazing experience in the field of sustainability and climate change can step in and they can provide resources and direction. So that's been a tremendous benefit as well.
Excellent, thank you. I know that one of her fellows even got to utilize some of our greenhouse gas experts. So that was an amazing opportunity. So thanks, Todd, for really pointing that out.
Thank you all. Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Go ahead. I just
Okay.
saw yours first.
I just wanted, I don't know if this is like a real question, a fully formed question, but the question I came with was, can it be hybrid or remote? You answered that. Thank you. That's fantastic to know, since my particular program office is still operating remote. So that is one thing. But I also didn't realize that you recruited beyond the undergraduate population at UNH. I don't think I realized that, or maybe that's new, or somehow I missed that, having participated before. So could you just maybe say a little bit more about like how you go about identifying those folks? Like, are you targeting graduate students? Do you have like other institutions that you're, specifically recruiting from? Is it like, posting on Indeed or, something like that? So
Yes.
just maybe a little
Yep.
background.
No, that's a really great question. Thank you, Brittany, for really calling that out. So we have two separate kind of cohorts within the full cohort, and that is the undergraduate students and then the post-baccalaureate. So when you decide which kind of fellow you want, that's what we'll be recruiting for. If you're recruiting for an undergraduate fellow, those are only going to be from UNH. We like to offer that experiential education component to undergrads at UNH. It's a really unique opportunity, and we know UNH undergrads are shaped specifically with sustainability in mind, right, with the Institute being there. So if you choose a post-baccalaureate, that cohort is recruited from across the US. So since we have been around since 2008, we have a very long list of partners at universities across the US who we reach out directly to the program managers for like the sustainability departments, the environmental engineering departments, so many different departments that are recruiting or that have students who would be a good recruitment pool. So then we send them the opportunities and we say, would you please share this out with your students, with your graduate students only, of course. And so they could be a post-baccalaureate who has just graduated, so a senior that has now graduated since the spring, so that counts as the post-baccalaureate, or it could be someone who is in a graduate program. And then we do post it everywhere else that you can imagine. Handshake is probably one of the best places that we post it just in general, just because that's where students are looking. But we also do just have strong relationships with other programs across the US, just like Todd had mentioned. And Sandra and Todd, all three of their fellows did come from Tufts this past summer. So we have a really strong relationship with Tufts as well. But yes, we had them from all over the US this year. So I feel like we could just keep talking about that question forever. But good question. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you. And so I see a question from Megan in the chat. Is the project proposal review rolling? In other words, do you have a better chance of your proposal being selected if you submit earlier or considered equally? That's a really good question. It's a tricky answer. We will start reviewing them as soon as we get them in. And if we get like really good, amazing applicants, like we'll be like, okay, that's accepted, that's accepted, that's accepted. And if you submit it November 4th, the final window, and we have over the number of slots that we have, it could be maybe not equally selected, but I kind of doubt that we'll have all of them in by November 4th. So I kind of feel like it'll be equal. Faina, do you have anything you want to add? It's kind of a tricky question. I guess I will add one thing before Faina speaks, is that we are exponentially expanding our program every year. So this year our goal was 30 projects. We ended up having 31. And so next year we're asking for funding to have 40 projects. And so there'll be more. But Faina, what would you like to add?
Yeah, hi. So I guess as that question was being asked, I was thinking it's sort of like dating, right? Like you don't want to close the opportunity for, everyone right away, but, we'll be reviewing, and the really strong proposals will get kind of slotted in. We'll be then organizing around those. I think, Alexis spoke about this, but when we're picking proposals, we're not just looking at, is this a fantastic project, but we're also looking at how is this going to kind of puzzle piece into the rest of the projects that are happening, right? Because we have these advisory group meetings. And so if something is really focused on racial justice, for instance, then we'd want to make sure that we have other projects that are on that kind of in that same realm, so that the fellows can support one another and that we have the appropriate advising staff to support them as well. I'll leave it there, Alexis.
Thank you, Faina. That was so helpful. I know we had some this past year that didn't get selected, and they asked us like, what could we have done better? And I was like, it was great. I'm sorry, I just couldn't, we can't take them all. So sometimes that is one of the deciding factors. Any other questions? I can share a fun fact, and that's that I've actually hosted a fellow before prior to coming to the UNH Sustainability Institute. At the nonprofit I was at, I applied and went through the process and hosted a fellow. And I knew after having that experience, it was absolutely incredible. I'd hosted so many interns over the years, and I loved the interns, and I never stopped those programs either. But it was such a different experience. So when I was able to join the UNHSI family, I was so excited to get to work on this. So as I get to work with the host organizations throughout the summer, I definitely love working with you all, because I remember being in that position as well.
Do you have a list of like other criteria you're looking at when you're reviewing applications, just to sort of understand what you might be looking for?
That really is the project proposal. So that document linked. Let me just see now that I'm not sharing my screen anymore. April, that's such a great question. I have it up on my computer.
Yeah, I guess I'll also say that a lot of what we're looking for is we're trying to vet not just the organization and the project, but also the mentor, to make sure that they have the space and interest in mentoring an undergrad or a post-bac. And we're looking, each question has a rubric component that we're looking at, right? To see if, when we're asking you about any, social justice work being done at the organization, right? We want to know that this is an organization that, especially if you're asking for funding, right, that you kind of have a lot of those ducks in a row and are thinking through those things. But Alexis, I'll let you, is that what you just shared?
Yes, that's perfect. Can someone try the link and see if it works? I just want to make sure it's not locked. It works. Okay.
It works. Yeah. Thank you.
So that really, just like Faina mentioned, those are the questions that we ask you to answer, and that will help guide us for that rubric. So the better you explain your situation, I guess maybe is the best thing to do, and just say like, oh, we don't have a data mechanism for this project yet, but we plan to work on it through the spring, and this is how we'll work on it, and we'll have it ready by the time the summer fellow comes. That's a great example. I know that one of our projects for this summer kind of did that. They said like the fellow will be working with this data that we don't have yet, but we're preparing for that, and that's what the fellow will be doing. Sandra.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking of something in addition to, what UNH might be looking for, but also, in interacting with the two fellows as well, it became very clear that I needed to remember, what can we offer the fellow? And when I write or I draft the project, or we're working on the actual position description or whatever it may be, yes, they're looking at the UNH Sustainability Institute, but the opportunities nowadays of internship programs and things like this are plentiful. So how, they looked as much, if not more, at what Bangor Savings Bank could offer them compared to the other opportunities that they were being provided, which were immense. And it's one of those things where, when I thought about it from also a different perspective, I chose different, I had to think, what might a student who doesn't have a lot of corporate experience or nonprofit experience, what would they get out of this experience? Because they have that element of choosing, right? I think that was also another part that I didn't realize until we were going through the process, that they were choosing the projects they wanted to apply for, not just to the program itself. and the organizations. So.
Sandra, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for adding that perspective. 100%. Yes, they are looking for those specific organizations and the project because like you just mentioned, there's so many different opportunities out there, which we're really excited about because we never can accept everyone. So it's great to have so many opportunities out there, but you do want it to be attractive to all of those.
And I think our generation and upcoming generations are really wanting to make sure that the work that they're doing is meaningful and purposeful and adding value to the organization. And so reassuring them that they would get that here at our organization was something I've really wanted to sell, and not just sell, but also live up to. So.
Right. Excellent. Thank you. Brittany?
Yes, thank you. I figured I would use the proper tools, leverage Zoom to our advantage rather than just start talking. So I wanted to ask about the ability of UNH to like offset the cost associated with hosting an intern, because I know in the past my office has served as a site and we have gotten some assistance, but I think the total like stipend is that, am I delusional? Is that like hugely, is that a lot larger now than it was maybe like 4 years ago? Doesn't matter, you don't need to answer that, but my question is actually like, what is that support like? Is it on a sliding scale based on need? You know, like does UNH have the ability to like fully sponsor a fellow at a site? You know, is it like 50%? Like, is there some sort of range? Is it case by case? Because I work for a small scrappy nonprofit that doesn't have a lot of excess funds, you know, but definitely has a lot of need for additional capacity. And so I'm wondering like what that looks like for a site who maybe isn't able to like front the 7 or 9K.
Right, that's a good question. So first, I mean, I know you asked the question about it being more, but I think that's a great thing to actually point out as an advantage to our program. We want it to be a fair and equitable pay. And so we really love and strive to have that goal at the Institute. So that's really something, right, exactly, that we're proud of. So we understand that that can be a struggle for many organizations. So it is a sliding scale. So some may be able to do almost all of it. Some might just need $1,000 support. Some might need 50% support. And we work through that with the organization as we go through it. We also had some that applied for grants. And so they just said, like, can you hold off? We're pretty sure we have 100%, but like, can you accept us, but just hold your horses? And it was a little bit touch and go at the end, but we did get it. So that was exciting, but we understood their situation. So sliding scale, conversation, put the notes in the RFP, and we'll see what's possible.
Thank you, because you reminded me there are some grants and things on my campus that could potentially be applicable to this, so that I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yes, yep. We had multiple programs that worked with grants this past summer.
Yeah, and I'll just add that nonprofits also sometimes go to their board to say, like, look, we have this opportunity to really, you know, dive deep into this one thing that we need to do.
Totally.
And, you know, just to sort of play it out, it's 400 hours, right? So just looking at the undergrad, it's less than 20, it's about $18.75 an hour. Which, and we were less last year. We just kind of are trying to meet market demand right now.
Totally in support of paying them more. If I, you know, like if I had 20K, I'd be like, take the 20K, but thank you. Yes, appreciate all of that context.
Any other questions? Thank you, Brittany. Thanks for joining. Well, thank you all so much for joining and making this conversation even more valuable at the end, especially for everyone who will be watching this who couldn't attend today. So they'll be watching the recording and hearing your amazing questions and answers and input. So thank you so much. I hope to see your RFPs soon. Like I said, just reach out to me. I'm happy to set up a one-on-one Zoom to talk through your project. We just really want to be able to offer that triple win to your organization, students, and our community and world at large. So thank you so much, and I hope we'll hear from you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.